Hello, everybody. How you doing today? This is Sakoni Prince, and I am so excited to be able to share with you another episode of our podcast, which is entitled Heal. Heal is an acronym for Help, Elevate, and Learn, and it's a guide for healing your inner child. I am so excited because I get a chance to actually share with you something that I believe is honestly plaguing our community, and that is inner child trauma and inner child wounds. But we haven't really talked about them in such a way to where we recognize them for what they are. And so I wanted to, and the purpose of this podcast and the book is to do what I like to call start the conversation. I want to make a commonplace for us to talk about our mental health and the things that are again affecting our behavior even today. And I am so excited about who we're going to have on our particular show today. But that's coming up in a minute. I do want to take a minute also to actually let you know that we have a sponsor. That's right, a sponsor for this amazing podcast, and it is none other than BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online therapy. In fact, I tell you what, I'm just going to play this real quick. Check this out. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, you go to their site. You can use my link, betterhelp.com/SakoniPrinceHeal. You answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who's had years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. You can do it all from your phone or your computer, via a phone call, a video chat, or messaging. However you feel most comfortable, it is the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist. You'll be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours, so you can get started fast. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/SakoniPrinceHeal or choose Sakoni Prince Heal during your sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. So you can see why I am so excited that we have this amazing company that's actually been a sponsor of this podcast. And I am so grateful and appreciative to them for trusting in me and in the work that I'm doing. And you know what? Speaking of therapy, I've actually gone to therapy myself. And I'm not ashamed to say that. And again, I want to make it commonplace for us to be able to actually talk about getting help. And I tell my kids this all the time. I said, there's nothing wrong with needing help. But there's everything wrong with needing it and not being willing to ask for it. So if you realize you need some help, get some help. There's nothing wrong. To me, that's where the strength comes in. That's where you really understand that, okay, I know that what I'm doing is so important that I really need to get somebody to come alongside and help. If your goals aren't big enough, that means you need bigger goals. And having an amazing life is a big goal. And sometimes you need help with that. And so that's why I'm so excited to actually announce and share with the world that BetterHelp is a sponsor of this podcast. Now, our topic today is going to be, again, talking about, and really, I want to use these first couple of episodes to establish what the inner child is and how it affects us in our day-to-day lives. I was so blown away by what, in fact, was shared last week because I asked the question, how important is inner child healing? And Miss Edgington, she told us that it really depends upon how deep the wound is. And I had never even thought about it like that. That's one of the reasons why I want to have experts on to help really clarify and actually put a framework for what it is that we need to do when it comes to our mental health. And I've said this before, and I will keep saying this. If you ever get to the place where you realize, hey, I need some help, get some. Put the book down, turn the podcast off, and go get some help. Because all of us could use a helping hand every now and then. And so with that being said, I want to actually get to our discussion today, and I'm going to bring on the screen none other than my good friend. Let me turn this frame off because I don't want it covering his face, Mr. Alex Simon.
Hey, how's it
Alex,
going?
are you there? I'm going
Okay.
good, man. How you doing?
Doing good.
Good. Take a minute, man, to introduce yourself and let people know who it is you are and what it is you do.
So my name is Alex Simon. I'm with Warrior Spirit Foundation, and the goal behind that is to help each man restore their warrior war. You know, life hits, and people think of warrior, they just think of veterans. I think of every man as a warrior. And, we all have our own battle cries, and sometimes life just takes us down. But if we have a community of people around us, or at least one person in the battle with us, we're never alone.
Well, that is so needed. And I love what you said about a community of people, because just having one person that you're always, for lack of a better term, dumping on or throwing up on, that can get tiring and
Hmm.
that can weigh them down. But having that support group of people that are there to really help you to be able to stand and I remember somebody sharing with me, it's like if you push everybody away, you can't blame nobody for not catching you when you fall.
For
If you
sure.
push everybody away, you can't blame nobody for not catching you when you fall. So we have to be there for other people, and we have to have other people be there for us. And so I want to commend you for what you're doing, because those people that have served, and thank you for your service, by the way,
Thank you.
in in the military service, they need to be a priority for us because they fight for our freedoms and they defend our liberties. And so again, I want to thank you and thank you for the work that you're doing, because I know it can be difficult and it can be challenging,
Hmm.
when you're dealing with people who really don't get you and they really don't understand. And to have that kind of community where, kind of like the old Cheers, and I know I'm dating myself, but it says, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And,
Yeah.
we need communities like that to where we can have somebody we can relate to and somebody that we can really just connect with. And so, again, thank you for that. So, now on that note, and I know we're going to get to the inner child stuff in a little bit, but I really want to find out because, when it comes to men's mental health, and in particular Black men's mental health, I
Hmm.
know there's somewhat of a stigma around that, about talking about it, about addressing it, and first thing, brothers say, well, I ain't crazy, I don't need to go see nobody. But the reality is we struggle, and sometimes we suffer in silence.
Hmm.
So in your experience with talk with men and actually helping men to overcome those challenges, what has been the most eye-opening thing that you've discovered when talking to men about their mental health?
I think, you have to, like you say, make it lighter. And
Right.
I know for me, it starts with those one-on-one conversations of what is it that you're actually wanting to say.
Hmm.
Sometimes people can't do it in a group setting, or they're too embarrassed to say. But if you're actually one of the pioneering people to do it first, you
Right.
can actually show the transformation that's happening on your end.
Hmm.
And then it will help somebody else say, you know what, maybe I should go get the help that I need. And I found that, like I just keep on being a broken record about it, to the point where they go on their own. They're like, probably should have went 10 years ago. And when
Right.
they
Right.
finally start embracing that, you know, once they tell me that they start going, I say, you know what, I'm proud of you. And people's like, oh, usually I get the other saying of like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, well, you
Right.
already,
Right.
I said,
Right.
everybody's already saying that, instead of, and I said, you got to be countercultural and changing those conversations, because there's so many people who will never get the opportunity to go because of how much it's stigmatized to say I need help. So,
Right. Right. Well, I know that that can definitely be a challenge with men, in particular. But I also know that the more conversations and the more people that I meet like you, and that are willing to really talk about and kind of help unpack and make it less stressful to
mhm,
talk about mental health issues, I believe it's really going to help somebody, like you said, get help sooner than later.
mhm,
And if we're all honest, and a good friend of mine, in fact, Wonder Graham, he oftentimes says he want to keep things hot. And
mhm.
hot is an acronym for honest, open, and transparent.
I like that.
Wonder Graham now, because you got to give him credit for that. So if we're going to keep things hot, honest, open, and transparent, that means that we have to be willing to even talk about, again, some of the challenges that we face. Now, I tell people all the time, you don't have to go into all the sort of details. You don't have to name the places and all of
Correct.
that. But you can share enough about your experience and about what you've gone through that somebody can really understand, okay, this guy isn't pretending, he isn't putting on, but he's really trying to help me. And that's what I've learned, that people will pick up on that. Are you really trying to do this? Uh, like my coach, Dr. Ruben Rest says, are you doing it for the cause or are you doing it for the applause?
Mm-hmm.
Because some people are doing it just because somebody else is cheering them on and clapping and singing their praises. But other people would do it even when no one shows up, even when
Mm-hmm.
hardly anybody shows up. They'll do it for the one. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I like to think, that that's my driving passion, because I understand that somebody out there is waiting to hear this conversation.
Yeah, for
Somebody
sure.
out there is waiting to understand that they can talk about their mental health. Somebody's out there waiting to understand that they're not the only one that's struggling and going through something. And I want to be just a, a part of a chorus of folks that are literally nowadays talking about mental health and how important it is. So, with that being said, I want to talk a bit about the inner child. And I, I know that I haven't, my book is coming out in the next couple of weeks.
All right.
But I wanted to make sure, I really didn't want to just throw anything out there. I wanted to make sure that it was right and that it can really help somebody. And when I sent it to the editor, she was so moved by it. I was I was humbled. But she also told me it was easy to read, it was easily digestible. And I think, coming from a layman's standpoint and not really having the background that you do or some of the other therapists that I'm going to have on the show, I think I kind of act as a go-between, between those of you who are educated and schooled and trained in this particular arena, but then again, those people who have yet to really start the process. So when it comes to the people that you serve,
Mm-hmm.
do you see, and I know they're dealing with a lot of PTSD from their service, but do you see anything else beyond that, like anything that may have happened in their childhood that was also compounded by the PTSD?
When for the people that I serve in particular is men in general, all walks of life. Obviously having a veteran background, I attract a lot of veterans, but I also attract a lot of entrepreneurs who are
Okay.
just as, in the fight of they don't feel like they have people to talk to that understand their day
Mm,
to day that they deal with as business owners. Um, you can find that a lot of people are dealing with that child standpoint because your brain just understands that something happened. There's no time frame. So if you never deal with that trauma, you just constantly go back to that point of reference to how you felt at whatever age that was. And I think so many of the people that I talk to is nobody takes the time to be patient with them and actually help them understand that, hey, you need to talk about this so you can be better for the next person that comes around you. Think about the family that you have or the people who are closest to you. How is it that they're going to understand how to deal with you? Because their triggers are their problems. And you have to understand them so you can put yourself in better situations. And I think there's so many people who don't take time to be patient on themselves to do the inner work. And when you talk about that inner child, some people are so traumatized from situations growing up that they don't even want to face themselves.
yes, yes, I
Let
know that.
alone, like, so for some of the people, is they can do the group setting and they're fine talking about it in front of people. And then other ones, it's more one on one. It's more, what can we do to help you understand that you're not alone? And the more you talk to people, you realize that a lot of our stories are similar, it's just happen at different times.
Right, right. Well, and even like I mentioned in my book, the I talked about journaling, but I know sometimes for us as men, there are things that we don't want to like put on paper and have laying around for somebody to actually pick up and read. So my suggestion was to write it,
Mm.
read it, and release it. When I say release it, I mean just take it and burn it. You know, write it down, get it out of you, read it, rehearse it, recite it, and then burn it. And that to me is the releasing aspect of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you talked about doing, in fact, the one-on-ones and even like the actual group sessions. You know, if we are honest with each other, we get encouragement from each other.
Correct.
But I know that there are times when it's like, you know what, I really don't need to be sharing this with 5 or 10 people or 10 or 12 people.
Mhm.
I need to have someone, a trusted friend, confidant, a counselor, a therapist that can actually help me to navigate through this. And I think that oftentimes we are afraid, and I think you and I, in fact, we were talking about this earlier about, feeling your feelings or processing your feelings. Uh, I remember hearing Dr. LaDonya Vet on her podcast where she was talking to this young lady, and the lady talked about crying, and she actually said, and let the tears flow. And I thought that was so insightful, simply because oftentimes we try to stop ourselves from
Mm-hmm.
crying, even if we're by ourselves, you
Yeah.
know. But getting to the point, to the place to where we really just release all of that pent up frustration, anger, and anxiety, in fact, whatever you want to call it, just get it all out. Again, process the feelings, process the emotions, get them all out, get them done with, and then you can move on.
Yep.
But I think that it's honestly really hard for us to do that if we haven't processed the emotions first.
Mm-hmm.
Some people start and then they stop. They'll cry and then they'll suck it back up. And especially
Mm-hmm.
us as men, we were told, in fact, like you said earlier, stop
Mm-hmm.
crying, stop crying. So we learn how to repress all of those emotions and those feelings. And people wonder why. In fact, why don't you talk? Why don't you open up? Why don't you share? And it's because I've been conditioned and trained not to.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that started in our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone who is trying to figure out, okay, do I really need inner child work?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I try to help people to understand is your behavior now impacting your life negatively? Is
Mm-hmm.
something that you're doing repeatedly, something that keeps showing up, is it negatively impacting your life? And if it is, again, it's not what you do, but why you do it.
Yep.
So I guess that was more of a statement, but I want to ask you, the individuals that come to you,
Mm-hmm.
they come to you because they realize they need some help.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the starting points that you start with them? I would think it would be identifying what the problem is, but let's kind of share a little bit about that.
I think the biggest thing that I do is I call it bro time. It's just
Okay.
let's hang out and just figure out where the conversation is gonna go. And
Okay.
then it's not always the first meeting that you get everything. It could be we're
Okay.
just hanging out. You just needed to vent. And then other times it might be you did come and you did need a solution. And
Right.
being able to help people before we even start, just like where did you what at what brought you here? Did you want me to give you a solution or did you want me to just hear you out? And it's important to know that up front so you don't get too invested into whatever situation that it is without you asking for their permission. So permission is the first thing. People that are not always coming to you for help. They might just be coming to you because you're safe and they can tell you certain things. And that's all that's the role that you play in that moment. But there might be a time that they did come to you for a solution because they have seen other people who are a part of the Warrior Spirit Foundation, like, oh, this dude is changing, what they're doing different. Well, they're showing up, but we also spend time together trying to figure out what they need for themselves. And I think so many times that men in general, they beat themselves down for even needing the help, but making it to where it's a comfortable conversation, just like, I'm no different than you. I've struggled just like you. And I think last year, going through a divorce, and there was so many other men who like, well, you did that different. I said, well, I built a community around me who previously I have helped them through harder situations or even through divorce themselves. And now they're remarried. But I said, the first thing I did was build a community around me, not to be like, oh, I'm going through this thing and I can't be front facing. It was like, no, this is the time you need to be front facing and face everything that you're dealing with and show other people that they can come out on the other side without hurting themselves, or feeling like nobody saw them, and for most people, I realize that the conversations that they want to have, people turn it into jokes instead of actually like, that was a vulnerable moment, and you joking about it just shut them down for another 10 to 15 years. So
Right.
making it to where like we're having that conversation, you know, but also being very understanding of, okay, is that all you want to share on that? And then sometimes it's just asking deeper questions that helps them think about, like, dang, I didn't look at it that way. That, whichever vantage point I want to look at it at, like, nope, you didn't go deep enough. And then you'll
Right.
find out that whatever they're talking about is not normally, it's not really what they're dealing with, it's something else. And it always
Right.
goes back to how their caregivers care for them. I've heard this a lot. A lot of people, if they got left at school or something, somebody didn't pick them up one time, how much that scares them, and that abandonment phase that somebody's going to leave them at the most vulnerable time in life. And I'm sure you've heard it, from people where it's just like, yeah, that one time my mom left me at school, and then that carried on to all their relationships. That anytime that person didn't answer the phone or show up the way that they needed them to, they felt like, oh yeah, that person's going to abandon me too. Or people have actually abandoned them every time they needed them. So therefore, their trust in people showing up has
Yeah.
not been there anymore.
Right. Right. Well, I can definitely speak to that, but I would speak from the standpoint of emotional abandonment.
Hmm.
Somebody can be in the same room with you and not be there.
Correct.
So it's not just the absence of the body, but if they're not present with you, if they don't make you a priority, or if they don't include you in their circle, I mean, that's a sense of abandonment. And
Hmm.
one of the ways that, and I'm just being vulnerable here, how I countered that was I started to value myself.
Yeah.
I started to actually see how needful and necessary I was. I used to joke about, in fact, when I was in high school, I couldn't buy a date. I mean, that was the time I was promising, dinner and a movie. In fact, McDonald's and a matinee, and nobody would show up. But I'm grateful for that time now, because I literally became my own best friend.
Hmm.
I started to hang out with me, and I understood the type of person I was.
Hmm.
And so, like I've told people all the time, if you don't like me, that's your loss, because I know the type of person I am. I know what I have to offer. And, I'm not being held hostage by somebody else's opinion. And
Must
so,
have been at my lunch
so
today.
do it.
You must have been at my lunch conversation today.
No, I wasn't at, but it's confirmation that, that there has to be a level of self-acceptance
Hmm.
that really can help you to fight everything else. Because if you don't think that you deserve better, you will succumb to anything that comes your way. It's like a city without walls. But if I need to protect me because I know what I have, anything valuable you protect,
Hmm.
your peace, your understanding, your worth. And so you don't submit yourself to somebody else's definition or treatment of you, because, like, wait, no, I don't deserve that. I
Mm-hmm.
deserve better. And but if you don't think you do, yeah, treat me in the kind of way you want to, say anything you want me, show up when you want to, call you want, do what you want to do to me, because I don't think I deserve better. But the reality is, if we take the time to appreciate, and I'm a person of faith,
Mm-hmm.
in fact, the person that God made us to be, then
That's
we
right.
won't settle for any type of, treatment. And so with that being said, I want people to actually come to that place themselves, to where they are not held hostage by somebody else's opinion of them, because they know who they are. It's like I tell people all the time. Once you know who you are, nothing can stop you. But until you know who you are, anything can.
No, it's
And
so
so,
important.
go ahead.
You say that it's so many people. I always tell people, I said, like, background having, being a personal trainer sometimes it's like until you realize and you accept that for yourself, who you are, you're not going to get to where you need to be fitness wise. And helping people understand that, when you get a true understanding of who you are, that's when you truly begin to change. And that is the hardest thing sometimes for some people is for them to love themselves and accept
Mm,
themselves. And I try to be a lead by example by how I dress, how I talk, how I take care of myself.
right.
People begin to resonate with just like, man, I want that level of confidence. I said, you can have it. You just got to own it. I said,
Exactly.
it's up to you to own that. I said, but if you tell yourself that you can't wear that, then you can't. I said, I wear what I want and what I feel good in, but it's also to show other people out there you can do it. You can go through life and still be, unapologetically you and not be, you know, trying to dim your light for others. Sometimes
Right.
people are just like, I'm not enough. What if you are too much? You're just hanging around the wrong people, you know?
Ooh. Ooh.
You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like you hanging around the wrong circle, you too elevated for them. See how you can flip a negative into a positive
right.
if that person's open mind is like, maybe I do need to change my circle. I've outgrown them. I've
Right.
outgrown these relationships. They're not trying to take me to a place higher because they knew a different version of me that I'm
Right.
no longer there. We've all been there.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I know you. And you're just like, that was like 10 years ago. I can't possibly be the same person. And if you're not evolving, you're slowly dying, right?
Mm.
And so many people have a version or a story of you that no longer exist.
Yep. They
And
need they need to update their file.
then what I like to quote Ed Milet, he's like, say the same story but to new people. Sometimes we're trying to do change and we believe our story of the change, but the people closest to us don't want to see us in that different light. So you
Yeah.
gotta form new alliances, new friends in order to grow.
Yeah. Well, that is so so true. Now, listen, man. I really I've been trying to keep these shows to about 30 minutes.
Okay.
In fact, no more than 45. But I did want to give people an opportunity to really, you know, connect with you. I know that I actually put in all of the posts that I made. I put your LinkedIn, I put your Instagram, I put the Warrior Spirit Foundation Instagram in there, and so they can actually, in fact, connect with you there. And one thing I love about the technology, in fact, that we have today is that you're not limited to your geographical location.
That's right.
You're in Arizona, right? Is it Chandler?
Correct. Chandler, Arizona.
Okay, Chandler, Arizona. So it amazes me how we can reach and we can connect
Mhm.
and really honestly find our tribe. And they don't necessarily have to be down the street, around the corner, or
Correct.
across town. It can be across country or around the world. And
Mhm.
so I try to encourage people to, find people who pour into you, who actually energize you. Find people that are going somewhere and they want to take you with them, and someone that encourages and motivates you. And so I want to keep in my circle people like you who know more than I do and who are smarter than me and who can actually help me and actually lead me in the direction which I need to go in order for me to be a better version of myself. Because to me, that's the thing that all of us need to strive for. I just need to be better than who I was yesterday. I'm
Hmm.
not your competition. You're not mine. My only competition is who I used to be. And so I
Correct.
want to grow and be the best possible version of myself. And with that being said, I just want to, man, just take this time to just thank you for coming on and sharing a little bit about what you do. And I know it's way too much, to try to fit into a brief show like this, a podcast, but I just want people to understand that there are men out there that are
Correct.
dealing with mental health. There are African American men that are dealing with mental health. And it's not something, in fact, to be shunned or to be ashamed, but it's something to actually champion because, again, all of us need some help. All of us need somebody, like I oftentimes say, that we can throw up on, that we can get stuff out and we can actually get the guidance and help that we need. So, Alex, I want to thank you again for being on the show. In fact, like I said, I've actually shared all of your social
I
media
appreciate
handles on the
it.
post. I'm sorry.
I said I appreciate it.
You are more than welcome, and I am definitely, in fact, looking forward to connecting with you again. And I mean, this has become, in fact, my new battle cry. Just helping people. It's like I've said before. My slogan was, "I'm Sakoni Prince of SakoniPrince.com, where we make motivation personal by introducing you to yourself." But I've learned in the last couple of years that there was an aspect of people's personality that was being missed, and it
Hmm.
was their childhood. It was their inner child, but it keeps showing up in different ways. And
Hmm.
so, not only am I still doing the personal development because I'm doing that, I'm also doing the leadership development because I know that's important too. But inner child healing to me is the core of both of those.
Hmm.
Because if you have those kind of insecurities that came from when you were a little child and they're still affecting you today, they show up in your personal relationships, your business relationships.
Hmm.
And so, not being able or willing to actually get the help that you need in those areas can be a hindrance in so many different ways. So,
Hmm.
Alex, again, I want to thank you for joining us and being a part of the conversation. And I am so appreciative to you for your time, your expertise, and the work that you do to help making mental health commonplace. Because again, I think we need that so much. So,
Appreciate you. Thank you.
all right, okay. Well, I'm going to take him out, and we're going to go back in, and we are going to have some reflections where we're going to talk a little bit about what it is that we covered and how important it is for us as men to get the help that we need, to be able to actually reach out and get the help that we need. And actually, that's going to bring us to our last little thing, which is our challenge. I want to challenge you this week, coming up, to find somebody you can talk to, especially if you're a man. Find somebody that you can confide in. But don't just go to anybody. And I would encourage you to pray and ask God to send you somebody that can really handle what it is you want to share. And I will add this caveat: don't dump everything on them. Just get them a trash bag full, okay? Don't take the whole garbage truck and unload on them. Just get them just a little bit and, see how that goes and see how it allows you to get to a better place and a better space when it comes to how you're dealing with the stuff you're struggling with. It may just be one thing. It may be something on a job, something with relationships, something with your health. I don't know what it is you're facing, but find somebody, a trusted source, a trusted friend that you can actually share with. And with that being said, I do want to close out that I cannot be as thankful as I am for our sponsor, which is BetterHelp. So let me play this one more time. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, you go to their site. You can use my link, betterhelp.com/SakoniPrinceHeal. You answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who's had years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. You can do it all from your phone or your computer, via a phone call, a video chat, or messaging. However you feel most comfortable. It is the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist. You'll be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours, so you can get started fast. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/SacconiPrinceHeal or choose Sacconi Prince Heal during your sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. And I do want to share this one last thing, and then we're going to call it a wrap. This is just a little segment of what we shared last week. And if you want to see that full podcast, you can go to my website, SacconiPrince.com/heal, and you can actually scroll down and you'll be able to actually see that particular podcast in its entirety. But check this out. In your professional opinion, how important is inner child healing?
Whew. that was a heavy one, because I'm going to say the healing of the inner child, the importance of it depends on the harm that has been done to the inner child.
Okay, all right. I'm with you.
Yeah, so we have to know, for some, it may be critically important that they do it, or they're never going to get anywhere in their life. They're going to continuously stay on this hamster wheel, never reaching their goals, never having successful relationships, because that's how much trauma has been done. And if they have not done any type of work in any area of their life in terms of any self-discovery or no type of evolution, people used to always tell me, well, Dee, you're more evolved. And I'm like, but I'm not evolved because that I'm better. I've been through a lot of challenges. I've had to grow through a lot of things. So when you go through a lot of things, you have to grow through them.
All right, and with that being said, we're going to wrap up our show for today. We want to thank you for tuning in. Again, I want to thank Alex Simon for just gracing us with this knowledge, with his presence, and with this insight on why mental health, especially for men, is so important. So listen, you can, again, check this podcast is going to be available later on my page, which is SacconiPrince.com/heal. You can see all the previous podcasts there as well. You can even listen to them on Spotify or iHeartRadio. And if you want to check it out on YouTube, you can do that as well. And listen, this is Sacconi Prince of SacconiPrince.com, where we make motivation personal by introducing you to yourself. And this is the Heal, Help Elevate and Learn podcast, a guide for healing your inner child. We'll talk to you later.